any desire now to get back in with this buyback?
Brian, thank you for having me, and congrats on your new show. It's very exciting.
Thanks.
So Meta, we began exiting the stock in January of 2021. The stock was trading in the mid 200s, and we kept selling into May, and it was in the 300s. The trick is always to try to figure out when to get back in, if at all. And one of the things that we have never liked about Meta is the two-share class structure, which has allowed Mark Zuckerberg to have a tin ear when it comes to all things investor-oriented. He has shown a tremendous antipathy to investors. And so I think one of the questions we ask ourselves is, do we like the model? And I really don't. I think there's better places to be. I'm thrilled for the investors that are still in there. But if you wrote it all the way down and are writing it back up, you're still way underwater. So, we've turned our attention to names like Tesla, which we added in January, January 4th. So we just happened to get lucky on that one. But we want to have long-term sustainable earnings growers. And while I think Meta is there and they are demonstrating discipline with expense reductions, they're going to have a tailwind from currency. All these companies that are reporting today will be beneficiaries of a weaker dollar. But this is not the kind of name I want to be in for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and listen, the stock's going to get a lot of attention today on CNBC, Nancy, because it's up 18% now, 20%, whatever it ends up doing. But this was a $350 stock roughly to begin last year. So even with the pop today, investors are basically back to where they were 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, this is not a fixed story, is it?
No, it isn't. And I think, you have to look at the regulatory headwinds that may be coming their way, that have already come their way. They've got a lot more competition in the digital ad space. And so we'll hear something about that from Apple today and also from Amazon. So I just, there's nothing wrong with the name. I just think there are places where we want to be focused, the drivers of the digital revolution, and then the old economy companies that are embracing the digital revolution. That's where our focus is. And so, we own names like Microsoft and ServiceNow. Yeah. We also own Apple and Amazon and Google, but Meta's just not one we're going to get back into.
Are you expecting any giant buyback announcements from Apple, Amazon, or Alphabet tonight, Nancy?
I think so, Brian. I mean, I think what investors want to hear, especially from Amazon, is expense control. They missed their $1.5 billion expense reduction target in fourth quarter. They had reasons for it, but we will want to hear about that. Buybacks are certainly going to put a floor under the stock price, so we're eager to hear about that. And then it's going to be all about margins and guidance. And I think with Apple, you've got one of the most disciplined companies in the history of corporate America. Note, they haven't announced any layoffs because they didn't overhire. So we'll be interested to hear their guidance in terms of global demand. And you remember, they've got a 20% of their installed base that hasn't upgraded their phone in 4 years. So there's that. That's kind of think of it as a back order situation. So we'll be eager to hear about that as well.